Good afternoon. Today I want to talk a little bit about life as a vapor. So life as a vapor. For this we're going to go to James, to the New Testament. It's right after Hebrews. It's James chapter 4 verses 13 through 15. So today's just going to be 3 verses. So in verse 13, if you have your Bibles, it starts off, it says, "Go to now ye that say, today or tomorrow we will go into such a city." So it starts off, it says that some may say, to go here and go yonder. You may even say it to yourself, today or tomorrow we will go into such a city. So you're planning out your life. You're like, this is the plans that I have. I'm going to go and do such and such today. And then it goes on to say, and continue there a year. You plan to be there, 365 days. Your day or year is planned on, this is where my journey will be into such a city. And what are you going to do in such a city? You're going to buy and sell and get gain. Now, buying is that you have money when you go into this city, that you'll have money to buy things with. And the things that you've accumulated, you'll sell and get gain. So you will not only buy and sell, but you also will get gain. You'll flourish. You'll have enough to buy, to sell what you don't need, and to get gain. So this sounds very accurate. This is something that we plan on doing. Our lives is built around what I'm going to build up, and sell what we don't need, and there'll be gain. And that is what we plan on. And then it changes a completely different direction in verse 14. Let's go to verse 14. "Whereas you know not what shall be on the morrow," or the next day. So this, in verse 13, it mentions a whole year. Then the reality sets in verse 14. We don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. I think that we plan on so much, like, you start college, for example. It's 4 years. Within 4-year plan, this is what I want. And a 1-year plan, in 1 year, this is what I have to have planned. But we don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. So I guess it's a check to understand where our plans and how it'll fold out. For what is your life? So this is not just talking about a year. It's not just talking about tomorrow, but the inculpation of your whole entire life. What your whole life consists of. What is your life? So it's taking into account what you plan on for a year. Well, we don't even know what is for tomorrow. And then it says, what is your life? So it's supposed to have you think about, well, in the grand scheme of things, what is your life? It is even a vapor. A vapor is, you've seen people that vaped. They take it, it's just smoke. Smoke that just drifts into the air. It's just, you see it, and then it's just a puff. It's gone. A vapor that appeareth for a little time and then vanisheth away. There's many vapors that we have in our lives. There's times that we dwell on depression, things that make us sad, death of a family member or a loved one. There's times in our life that is full of joy and happiness and full of buying, selling, and get gain when everything is perfectly fine. It's vapors. For that period of time, it's joyous, or those times that it's sad, it's just a puff compared to a lifetime. So then we go to verse 15. Well, what do we do with this? If we can't plan on a year of buying, selling, and get gain and go into such a city, we don't know what tomorrow is. When we take account of our life, it's just a puff, just a brief little vapor, and then it's gone. So verse 15 brings it all together. For that you ought to say, if the Lord will. So the first is what you say, like that I want to do this and this and this. But then there is a correction in verse 15. It says, for you ought to say, if the Lord will. I think many people, they don't take an account of the Lord. The Lord ultimately knows what's going to happen to us a year from now, what will happen to us tomorrow. And He understands that our life is a vapor. Most of the time, I think that people, they try to dictate their lives outside of God, and He reminds us here in verse 15, if the Lord will, we shall live. Now this is a really daunting thought. What if today is your last day? I know I don't want to go, too much down the rabbit hole, but we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We may plan on what's, a year down the road, but we don't even know what tomorrow, and it says we shall live if the Lord will allow us to live. So when we encamp our minds, or when we, camp may be a bad word, but when we try to reason in our minds, what if today was the last day that you had on earth? Did you dictate your life of this is what I want to do from each step? Did you count on God or the Lord directing any of those paths? And do this or that. So it didn't even, at the last part of verse 15, it didn't even name what it is. It just means that encompasses everything. This or that or anything that you have planned, if the Lord wills. So as you're planning on what you're going to be doing in this year, or even in the years to come, understand that it's a vapor. And that you need to understand that it is of the Lord's will that we do this or that. So thank you for listening, and my prayer for you is that you would trust in the Lord more and that you would lean on to His will and not your own. Amen.